most of what this video contains is relevant to manifestation in a general sense. It applies whether a person uses the process from this video series, or takes a completely different approach. The story of Sam from video 4 of this series is drastically oversimplified for the sake of giving some sense of what can be achieved through the process, or many other approaches to manifestation. While the actual manifestation process itself can occur similar to how it unfolded in Sam's story, in reality anything goes and you should never, ever expect things to happen any certain way. Likewise, never assume that it can only happen if. This is likely the biggest pitfall. People assume that if they don't do or have this first, then that could never happen. It's a crazy world out there. Anything can and does happen. One person manifested $500 within a few hours of needing it for an emergency. It fell from the sky by winning a tournament on the Publishers Clearinghouse website. The safest rule to follow is to forget about how something can or can't happen. 99% of the time the how will blindside you out of nowhere. Experience suggests that far more often than not, the route to manifestation of a goal will end up being some twisted path that we never could have foreseen. One theory is that this is because doing this keeps all our baggage out of the roadway. Our beliefs, anxiety, etc. are removed from the equation. The screaming kids are kept out of the kitchen while mom's trying to cook. The process is not a quick fix for anything. It is a long-term commitment, similar to bodybuilding. If you're going to the gym regularly, you will begin losing some weight during your first visit. It will probably only require 2 or 3 visits before you begin to see improvement that can be measured on a scale. With every visit, the improvement you experience becomes more and more prominent. The vast majority of the time, manifesting goals is truly a process, not an event. Although sudden events certainly can and do occur. Placing too much focus on gauging progress toward a goal is an exercise in futility. It will typically do nothing but hinder that progress. Logic as we know it does not always apply to the manifestation of goals. Well, it's been 3 days, so if I started over there, then today I should be over here. It doesn't work that way. Often, many people need to be aligned and situations engineered in preparation for a goal to manifest. While this is underway, it will usually seem like no progress is being made. All of this only applies after your true core values are aligned such that you resonate with that goal manifesting. The beauty of manifestation is that if you are not aligned, then the first thing that will manifest is the act of getting you in alignment. Blockages must be cleared, roads must be built and paved, and vehicles need to be made ready to travel on them. The universe always says yes. But it's the necessary preparatory work that must occur first that tricks people into thinking this just isn't working. For better or worse, if the pace of your day-to-day life suddenly kicks into overdrive after seriously setting a goal, then full manifestation is in progress. Do not gauge that progress because we humans don't usually know how to do it correctly. And there is no requirement for our measuring progress at all. Bob, a sophomore in high school, is typically seen by his classmates as a wimp, a loser, and a nerd. He's the first guy the jocks would pick to torment. Bob decides that he seriously wants to have the homecoming queen as his girlfriend. And through whatever means he chooses, he puts forth the intent of making that happen. It's safe to say that Bob's core values, and his true perception of himself, are slightly misaligned with the goal he's set. So the law of attraction will begin working on these areas to get them to where they need to be. Since Bob is really super ultra serious about his goal, his life is about to become World War III. Bob will not understand any of what's about to happen to him. But behind the scenes, his request has been received, processed, and approved. Bob is placed on the fast track to winning that homecoming queen, who we will call Elise. Unknown to Bob, the first major shift that has to be made is to align his experience of Bob with his goal. Bob must exist in Bob's own perception exactly as he dreams of existing in Elise's experience. There's a lot of work to be done here, and the work is naturally prioritized from the largest required shift to the smallest. Bob comes home from school one day to the announcement that his father has received a major promotion at work and they are moving to a new town. Bob is devastated by this news. What's going on? He was so sincere in his goal to win over Elise, and now he's moving to a new town where, as far as he knows, that can never happen. His dream was crushed before it ever got off the ground. What Bob doesn't see is the fact that for him to go through the transition from wuss to stud muffin while still enrolled in his school would be pointless. Nobody would be likely to ever stop thinking of him as the old Bob. No matter how far he progressed toward becoming an A-list male, he would never shake his old persona within his current school. He would need to disappear from the scene, transition into Super Bob, then be thrown into some situation where extended, close interaction with Elise would unfold. Unaware of any of this, Bob is left to his misperception that he just took it in the behind and there's nothing more to say. However, having nowhere else to turn, Bob decides to stay with the process, in the hopes of somehow reconnecting with his lost love who never was. Bob requires a force to move him from point A to point B. In this case, it's an issue of physical appearance. Bob's dress code is somewhat apart from what it needs to become Elise's knight in shining armor. So some kind of impetus must occur in Bob's life to motivate him toward higher standards in the fashion world. In his new location, Bob ends up working as a retail clerk in a local clothing shop. He has no idea what's actually behind this. To him, it seemed like some place to apply for work and nothing more. But the law of attraction quietly nudged him into just the right store where he would encounter a steady flow of well-dressed males. He would see the girls they were with, he would see how they dressed, and subconsciously he would connect the two. His experience as a lowly clerk was designed, behind the scenes, to motivate him to dress the way he needed to dress in order to circulate freely on Elise's level. This pattern continues as Bob is moved through issue after issue that requires adjustment. However, all this is peripheral to the real goal. Bob must become in his own experience what he wants to become in the experience of Elise. This is no small task. Bob begins experiencing crises in his life. They come in all shapes and sizes, and they are piling up. Bob has no idea what's happening. All he knows is that it's painful to wake up in the morning, it's painful to go to bed at night, and all hours in between are painful to live through. There are family quarrels, bullying at his new school, unfair treatment at work, and a host of other maladies that become the new norm for poor Bob. As Bob begins to face, endure, and overcome each crisis, he becomes a slightly different person in his own experience. Over time, these changes accumulate. Since Bob is a moving target, constantly changing internally, the requirements for advancing his evolution continue changing. Month by month, the movement continues. Finally, Bob ends up not with Elise, but with a woman very similar but who he likes even better. When you set a goal, you do not achieve that goal. You become a person who that goal reflects, on the level of core values, on the level of self-perception. This is what true resonance is, essentially, your character, what you believe in, trust, value. While core intention plays a huge part in the situations that manifest in your daily life, intent alone is not enough. If you don't personally resonate with the goal you've set, it will never manifest. This is why the proverbial caca always seems to hit the fan when you put forth the intent to reach a goal. On the level of core intent, you must evolve to become a resonant match for that goal manifesting. Moving you to that point, driven by your own intent, is the journey that kicks off when a goal is set. The following points are useful guidelines to keep in mind as you progress toward a goal. 1. The best, and possibly only, way to gauge progress toward a goal is to assess how stable your life overall is. The more unstable it becomes, and the faster it becomes that way, the more likely it is that you have already been launched directly toward your goal. As a general rule, and every rule has exceptions, the larger your goal, the more changes you must undergo internally before that goal reflects your true core values, and the larger and more intense the events in your life are likely to be. While these events are not always negative, they have a tendency to take on that flavor simply because we respond with far more intensity to negative events than to positive ones. 2. You can seriously accelerate your passage through a crisis by taking the viewpoint of the law of attraction itself. It doesn't operate according to how good or bad you are, what you may or may not deserve, etc. It goes by your expected and most likely response to a situation. For example, Bob might say, "I thought this was my closest friend in the world, and she just betrayed me on a level that absolutely dwarfed anything I have ever experienced." From Bob's perspective, there is only one likely response: she is evil, and that's all there is to say. But if Bob pretends he is the law of attraction, and the goal of his being betrayed is to move him closer to his dream girl, then he can look deeper and say, "How do I get past this? Detach. Distance myself from this friend." This will ultimately be his response anyway: once bitten, twice shy. This becomes ingrained and automatic within Bob's now changed core values: don't get too close to anybody. It doesn't mean becoming a nutcase. It means keeping a healthy, balanced distance from anybody and everybody. The result is that when Bob hooks up with his dream girl, he has been molded and formed into a guy who is not too dependent and therefore does not run her off. 3. There are no prerequisites. You cannot declare, "I can never get hired in so and so profession until I get direct experience in it." A bizarre set of circumstances might arise where you suddenly find yourself in that profession with no experience. Obviously, certain professions, such as doctor or lawyer, are going to require a degree. But this is a good general rule of thumb: don't limit what you believe is possible because of preconceptions about prerequisites. Let the law of attraction do its thing. 4. If you were your goal, what changes would you need to see in yourself before you truly felt like you were a natural match for it? Having some sense of this will help considerably, not only in realizing the direct path toward your goal that you're really on, but also in understanding why some of the things that have been kicked into gear are occurring. You simply need to take the proper perspective and assume the purpose of what you're going through is to change you so that your goal is a natural reflection of you. 5. If your goal changes midstream, let it. Don't micromanage yourself or the process of reaching your goals. Evolution is constant. You are under no obligation to remain on a track that you no longer feel you want to be on. Modify and change your goals at will. 6. Make use of the supporting website. The link is in the description below each video in this series. There, an entire array of resources, from a discussion forum to articles to video links to worksheets, is available, all free of charge. The process will evolve, refine, and grow only with the participation of the people using it. You are who and what you are. Be that person. Do what you do, let yourself want what you want. No matter what label society might slap on a goal you have, it is valid. Don't let yourself fall prey to, "Well, I'm a bad person if I want that." Don't get caught up in that web. If you want something, then wanting it is valid. The best is saved for last: crisis mode. Those times when you're depressed, angry, feeling lost, empty, and worst of all, like nothing is happening. You will face these times. Do not fight them. They are temporary, even though every moment you spend in these diminished, even painful states, you will feel like they will last forever and nothing could possibly offer any hope. Ride out the storm. Get through the day any way you can. During these times, live your life from hour to hour, let time pass, allow things to unfold. You don't need to feel like you're on the fast track to massive rewards every minute of the day. Allow yourself downtime, allow yourself time to feel like you're completely stuck. Be who you are, do what you do, and move to the next minute, the next hour, the next day, any way you can. There will be times when you feel yourself facing crises that are rooted on deeper levels than you ever thought you existed on. They are not fun to go through. They are scary as hell, and even more painful. Even so, there is little choice but to let them play out. You will come out of them, sooner or later. Allow the crisis to exist and get through it any way you can. Fighting it will produce no result that wasn't going to be produced anyway. A final word, review and refresh periodically. This is absolutely critical to keeping up your momentum. Replay this video series from time to time. Read the articles on the supporting website. You'll find that the impact these resources have on you will be very different a month from now than it was this time through this video series. Thank you for watching. Be good to yourself, make your dreams happen. It's why you're here on Earth. Be who you are, do what you do, and make no apologies for any of it. Go forth and manifest.